And welcome to the demonstrational video on the 2018 Bailey Advance 70-6. I'll walk you around the outside and then we'll move on to the inside. So the cab, starting with the cab, the bonnet release catch on these is just here. So you pull that lever there and that releases the bonnet catch. While we're here, these blinds that are on the cab, these are the blackout blinds for the cab. They just slide across like that, and there's a magnetic strip that joins them together here. Exactly the same across the windscreen. Just pinch those together like that and then draw them together. There's a little notch there that allows you to draw it past the rear view mirror, and then there's a magnetic strip here that corresponds to the blind on the other side. When you pull this back, just make sure that this bar here goes back straight, so that it doesn't crease up the concertina blinds. So then underneath the bonnet, we have the washer fluid fill, coolant, brake fluid, oil fill, dipstick. If you ever need to jump start these, the positive terminal goes onto a little tab which is just under there. You can release that with a key into that little slot there and it reveals a metal tab. So you put the positive terminal onto that one and the earth goes onto this one here should you ever need to jump start it. So I'll walk you around the outside compartments, moving around the vehicle. This one's fitted with an awning, and there is a separate video on our YouTube channel that shows you how to operate the awning. It's a wind out sun canopy style awning on this one. So next to the habitation door we have the vents for the fridge. What that does is it draws cool air in at the bottom and expels the warm air from the top vent. You can buy winter covers for those to stop draft getting in, but particularly in hot weather that fridge does need to vent, so just make sure they're kept clean. Next to that we have the gas locker, where you put your gas in to supply the motorhome. So it will require a flexible hose that comes off the top of this inline regulator, and then the bottles are housed in these in this cage here, and then the taps obviously on top of the gas bottles. That's how you switch on the gas supply into the motorhome. There is a tap there to isolate the supply if you wanted to leave the gas switched on. Next to that there's an aerial inlet here, but the buyer of this motorhome has asked us to fit an aerial to the roof, which is just there, and it has an arm, so it's on the roof just in that position there, and it has an arm that goes down into one of the cupboards that allows you to adjust the aerial position and therefore get a better signal. To fill the water, so this has an onboard water tank, and to fill that you just put a hose pipe into this here and that fills up the water tank, which is housed in that area there. It is important to drain that fresh water tank down in freezing conditions. If it's left to freeze if water's left to freeze in that tank, it will expand and therefore crack the tank potentially, but the drain for that is on the inside, which I'll show you when we go inside. This one's been fitted with a bike rack, to operate that you can see this hinge here. These rails here end up coming down like that. The bike is positioned into those rails, and then these arms that are here are located onto the crossbar of the bike, and that's what keeps the bike in position. This particular one had some damage on this pillar here, which we've had repaired for the customer, so that's all been taken care of. As we move around the motorhome, we have a vent here which is for the boiler, so the dealing with the hot water side. So this is the water heater. This will actually vent off steam in particularly in cold conditions, so if you see steam rising from this, don't worry, it's just the gas exhaust venting. Moving on around the motorhome then, we have the toilet compartment. Now this one has a header tank for the flush fluid, so the toilet flush has got its own tank that requires filling. So with this, you just put a hose pipe into there. You can put the flush chemical in, which is coloured pink, and that's the fluid that will flush through the toilet when you press the flush button on the inside. Underneath that, we have the tank where the toilet waste is collected, and you empty this, and there's an indication on the toilet itself to tell you when that's full. You empty this by lifting this up, sliding out this toilet cassette, which would then be full of toilet waste, and then to empty it, you just pull that funnel across, open the cap on the end, and then pour away the toilet waste out of this funnel here. As you do so, turn it over like that, press this button in here. It will let air in as the liquid is flowing out of the bottom to stop it from splashing and glugging. To prepare this for use again, you need to put some blue chemical into this, and you do so by sliding that across, opening up this valve, pouring the desired amount of blue chemical into there, and putting a little bit of water into the bottom to line the base of the cassette. When you've done all that, slide it back into position in the same way that it pulled out. It does have a carry handle on it, which is extended like so, and then there's wheels to allow you to carry it off easily to the disposal points on the site. So that just slides back in. When you're sliding this bit back in, just make sure that that is facing that way so that it corresponds onto the blade which is on the toilet itself, which I'll show you when we go inside. It is important again because we've got another container full of water here, which is the flush tank, that is drained down for winter whenever it's not in use. That's done via this hose here. If you take that out, you can see that it's got a cap on the end. If you take that cap off and let this pour down like that, all the flush chemical will come out of this tank and pour away via that hose. The wastewater, or the grey water as it's sometimes referred to, is collected in a tank underneath the motorhome, and that tank is housed here. And in order to drain that down, it's this tap here that's in the open position now, I think, and that would be closed. So that's where the grey water, or the wastewater, everything that goes down the sink and down the shower, collects in the tank, which is just there, and that's where you release that tank from. This here is the main supply into the vehicle, so that's where you would put your cable, push that onto the end of there, and that's where the mains supply comes into the motorhome. So we'll move on to the inside controls now, through the habitation door. So this motorhome, there's a bed that is created here. The bed, in order to make that bed, this table drops down with an elbow joint on this here. So you drop this down by pressing that button in, folding that leg over like so, and then you drop the table from its catch here. If you just lift it slightly, and then so you pivot it up like that, and then lift it off this catch here. You've then got a table with a folded elbow leg here. You drop this table into this groove here, and then the table bridges the gap between those two. So if you draw that cushion into the center, lay those flat, that creates the bed here. It's got a drop down bed above that, which you can see there. The controls for that drop down bed are here. So if you press down on this button when that key is in the horizontal position like that, press the button down, and the bed then drops down, and then there's a ladder that clips onto there to gain access to the bed. To get that back up, you just press the up button on here, and then the bed electrically goes back into its stored position. So that's the bed operation. We have the kitchen area here, which has a fridge. It's a 3-way fridge. So to operate that through the different fuel types, that's in the off position. That will operate the fridge on electric. That will operate it on 12 volts. So that will only operate when the engine is running and it's coming off the engine alternator. So that will only, it's for transit cooling. That it will only keep it cool while the engine is running. It won't be very efficient at getting it cold, but it's for if you get it cold at you know, at home on electric, and then it will maintain its cooling when it's in that position. Next one down is gas. So you can run this on gas, and it's as efficient on gas as it is on mains electric. To light the burner for the gas hob, for the gas on the fridge, you push this button in here, and as you're doing so, press the igniter button here. I don't know if you can pick that up in the video, but it's an electric igniter. So as you're pushing, as you've got that pressed in, you need to be pressing this igniter in as well. When it's lit, this little needle here, the red needle, will move across into the green section. It is then lit, and you can release the igniter button. But you do need to keep that pressed in for 20 seconds or so to warm up the thermocouple and ensure that this is kept, that little red needle is kept in the green section here, and then you know that it's lit once you've released that press in section there. So you know that it's fully lit when it stays in the green zone and you've released this here. If you're going to leave the vehicle for any length of time, you don't want to leave the fridge shut because it's magnetic. It completely air seals this. You'll have stagnant air inside the fridge, which you don't want. So to prevent the door from fully catching, there's a little tab there. If you push that up, it stops this arm here from locating. So that's how you stop the fridge from closing fully when it's not in use. The oven is straightforward. The controls are on the front here, and there's an igniter for that as well as the hob. Just on the cab, this seat will, in fact both seats will swivel, but this one here has got the bulkhead behind it, so there's not much point in that swiveling. To swivel the seat, you release this little catch here, and that will allow you to swivel the seat around like so. You do have to go forward and back a little bit to get this backrest past the bulkhead and the door, but once you've swiveled it a little bit, if you go forward with the seat and then back, forward and back, and it'll allow you to swivel the seat all the way around. So moving back to the kitchen area, we have microwave. The main control panel is here, so to switch everything on, lights, etc., you press the button here. Let's get that in focus. So that's switched on. You can scroll through here to see your, it's a bit bright that. You can see your water level there at 0%. I'm just trying to get this in focus. So that's your water level. Next one down is waste level. There's a settings menu there. You've got internal temperature. You can select which battery you want to use. So I would leave it on leisure as it is there. So your leisure battery is designed to function by being fully charged and then fully discharged. So you can select by pressing this button here the vehicle battery, but not a good idea. If you discharge that, you're in trouble. So it's showing you how many amps we're drawing from the leisure battery condition, so that's in good condition, and then we're back to the main menu. This button here is like a back button or select button, so that will allow you to select which menu you go into. That's the water pump. So what that does is it pumps water from the main water tank that we showed you how to fill at this on the passenger side rear of the motorhome. So you've got to switch that pump on when you filled it full of water, and then to purge all the air out of the pipework and of the boiler, you'll need to switch the pump on, make sure your 12 volt is switched on, and then select your hot water side on the single lever mixer tap. So turn it over to the red and then switch your tap on and wait until you get a pure flow of water coming out your tap. You then know that your boiler and all your pipework is full and it's pushed all the air out of the pipework. You'll also need to do the same on the cold side, like so. Wait until you get a pure flow of water and it stops spluttering, and then you know that all the air is out of the pipes. Next one along on the back to the control panel is the lights in the motorhome. So that switches all the lights on and off. And then the next one along is the awning light for outside the vehicle. We have a carbon monoxide and smoke alarm there, so they're fitted. We removed some of the clip-on bits that were around this door, so that's all been taken care of. So moving to the back of the motorhome then, we'll deal with the bathroom. So you have a shower point, which is, the shower head is there, and then the tap is just a single lever mixer tap. The flush for the toilet is on top of here, so you press that button and that flushes the toilet. So the way to use the toilet then is this little lever underneath here opens and closes that valve. So when you come to use it, lift the lid, open the valve, use the toilet, close that back up, and then the toilet's ready to use after you've flushed it. There's a little LED there that will illuminate if the cassette is full. In the lounge area we have the water tank is housed in this area here. So I'll just remove those cushions and show you how to drain that down. So that's all the cushions removed, revealing the water tank, which is this. To drain the water tank down, which you'll need to do in winter to get all the water out of the pipes, there's a little tap there, and you can see it's pointing in the drained position. That will be in the closed position and will therefore retain all the water in the freshwater tank. On the opposite side of the lounge area is where the boiler is housed. So this is the boiler, and again this has got a drain down procedure. This is probably the most important bit to drain. If water's left in there and it freezes, it'll expand, crack all these pipe works, and if it cracks the boiler, that's an expensive part to repair. So the drain for that is just here. That's in the open position, so when it's pointing vertically like that, that's open, and will therefore drain all the water from the boiler. When it's in that position, horizontally either way, and then that's closed and in the usable position, and will therefore retain the water in the boiler. So this is the vessel of water that you're filling up when you purge the taps. So when I showed you in the kitchen area to open up your taps and wait until you get a pure flow of water coming out of the tap, it's filling this boiler. So it's running all that water from the tank on the other side through all these pipes, going into here, filling this up, and then eventually coming out your tap in your kitchen. So that's how that system works. The bed in the rear here is made up by sliding this across here, so this slatted system, and then that bridges the gap between the two bench seats in the lounge area. So all you do is move that cushion into the centre, lie this one flat, this one that's the backrest, and do the same on the other side, and that creates your bed here in the rear lounge area. So that's the lounge area. Next to this we've got a wardrobe here, so the ladder for the bed is here, carpets are in here, and there's some infill cushions that are just required in the bottom there if you're going to make up this dinette bed here, and that is an extension to the table. You can actually move this table to the rear if you want to pin the table on the rear section there, and these little arms, these rods here, slide into this here, and then that extends the table if you want to use it in the rear. So we're just back to the kitchen area here. The controls for the heating and the hot water are on this control panel here. So to switch that on, you press the button in the center. This is your temperature control, so if you click on again and then select your desired temperature by scrolling this wheel here, so 22 degrees. Next one along is your water temperature, so you have Eco, which is low heat, High, which I think is 60 degrees heat, and Boost. What Boost will do is take all the power from the heating of the motorhome and direct it to and prioritise the heating of the water. You can have hot water on while you're heating the motorhome. I'll just leave it on hot unless you want to get some hot water very quickly. Next one along is the fuel that you want to use. So if you just want it on gas, then you'd press the wheel in again. You can have a mix of 1 kilowatt and gas, a mix of 2 kilowatts and gas, electric on 1 kilowatt, and electric only on 2 kilowatts. So that's your fueling. To come out of any of these menus, you press this back button here. You can, if you want, just ventilate the motorhome by pressing this button here, so it will just blow the fan either on low or high. The next settings down are you can set a timer, so you can set the timer to come on at a certain time and go off at a certain time. That sets your let me just come out of this. That sets the clock. That warning that just came up there was to say that we haven't got any gas and we've not connected to electric, so this warning triangle has come on here. To get rid of that, slide along to the warning triangle, select it, and then keep your finger on the button. So with the warning triangle, you just need to press it once. To switch the control panel off, you press and hold, and that switches it off. So that warning triangle appeared because we haven't got any, there's no fuel for the boiler to ignite on gas, and there's no fuel, obviously electric fuel, so that will happen if your gas runs out, for example, or you disconnect the electric supply. At the moment there's no gas and there's no electric supply on the motorhome. So that concludes the demonstration video. I'm happy to answer any questions before you collect or on the day that you collect. If not, we'll look forward to seeing you when you collect your new Bailey motorhome.